listened to that song, I bet on you. It's a little while ago. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about it, and we're going to listen to some excerpts of it as and when it's appropriate to do so. And this is sort of how I would go about doing the song analysis, right? Section by section, right? I'll warn you, there's not a whole load about like the texture or the timbre of the instruments in this, mainly because they're the things that people seem to grasp quicker, right? You guys can probably all like listen to it and pick out the instruments and say like, oh, her voice is quite like this or quite like this. So we're not going to do too much of that. We will start with a little bit about the rhythm, but there won't be too much about that either. So the song is in simple 4/4 time. What does that mean? And I put like 4/4 like that.
4 beats in a bar.
4 beats in a bar, right? So we measure music in bars. If you're not used to bars, something to do a bit of research on, but they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Each of those groups of 4 is a bar, okay? There are kick drums on each of the 4 beats, with snare drums generally on the 2 and the 4 of each bar. That's fairly common, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, okay? Now, it's really interesting. When those drum beats stopped, I've done this in the last 2 sessions that I taught this before, but when the drum beats stopped, I just looked at everyone's feet, and everyone's like feet just stopped moving. And then when the drums kicked back in, everyone's like feet just started tapping right up again. So that's why that 4 to the floor beat still works. Even though it's the most bog standard beat you can get, it still works, okay? Tempo's around 120 BPM. What does BPM stand for? Beats per minute, yeah, okay. So that's fairly standard. It's not slow, it's not particularly fast, relatively fast. If the song was slower, you could really hear it being a ballad, you know. It's got the same sort of tropes as a ballad, you know, same sort of lyrics, same sort of melody, etc., etc. Now, what I've got there is the structure of this song on the left, right? And you can see next to each section I've listed how many bars are in it. So the intro is 8 bars, verse is 16, pre-chorus 16. This is one of the first things that we probably want to learn. Generally, structure your songs in 4-bar chunks. It's kind of hard to explain why that works, but music is very mathematical. I'm sure you sort of realise that by now, right? And 4-bar chunks just feel very natural to our ears, all right? 4's good, 8's good, 16's good, 12 sometimes is good, depends on what you do. But if you look down there, you'll see everything is in a chunk of 4 bars, okay? Except for the chorus, which are either 15 or 17. That kind of sounds a bit weird. We'll come up to that in a sec. Now, everything that we analyse is completely open to interpretation. You know, there are some things that are inarguable, like that note is that note, but you can always debate why it's been used or the context of the note, okay? So, for example, here, what you could argue is this section called chorus leading. You could just say that's part of the pre-chorus. You know, the pre-chorus is 20 bars, not 16, and that chorus leading is part of that. Or you could say, actually, that weird bit at the end of the chorus, that's not even part of the chorus, okay? That's just a separate section. So it's open to interpretation. This is just how I've chosen to interpret it. So as I said, chorus 15 and then the other chorus 17. What that ends up doing is, as a listener, whether you're conscious of it or not, you're expecting a 16-bar chorus, right? So 15 feels a little like there's something missing off the end, and 17 feels like it's kind of lingering on, yeah. And that can be useful, all right? We talked about these rules of like 4 bars lists, and this is what I said to you last week. These rules, they're not rules. These are things that we learn in order to know how to break with the listener's expectations, all right? So if I'm expecting 16 bars and you cut a bar off and do 15 and then go straight back into the verse, that's really thrown me, and I'm probably going to find that either disconcerting or interesting depending on how it's done. And so long as you know that that's the effect that you're going to create, then that's a valid tactic. If you're trying for it to be normal and like satisfying and how people would expect, then don't do that. Do you see what I mean? So understand the norm and then break it when you want to create a different effect, okay? So other than that, the structure's relatively simple, quite typical of pop music. First verse is twice the length of the second. That's used so often in pop music, right? There's no, people have done scientific studies, right? How to write the perfect hit, how to write a guaranteed hit. And they can never come up with a proper, full formula that guarantees a hit, right? But some things that are almost guaranteed to be in a hit. So hits generally have these things, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a hit if it's got these things. Are the chorus generally comes in a minute or under into the song, right? Generally the song is 4 minutes or under. Generally around the 3:30, something like that. It's rare for a song to be longer than that. And generally there's a really clear hook or chorus melody. So if you had a verse, like a double verse, that generally puts you about the 1 minute mark when you get into the chorus. It depends on what the song is. This is not like a complete like radio song, you know, it's quite upbeat. It was never a hit. So maybe part of that is it didn't get to the chorus very quickly. You know, it's quite a long time. It's like 32, what was it, 40 bars, 44 bars before the chorus.
That is long.
Exactly, right? So, you know, one of her other hits is called When I'm Alone. That was a hit, right? And that got the chorus a lot quicker. So take from that what you will, all right? Some choruses just go straight in with some songs go straight in with the chorus. You guys know Nile Rodgers, yeah? Chic. He'd freak out. Straight in with the chorus, man. Oh, freak out. That's it, chorus. Straight away. 0 seconds, chorus. So this is the structure, roughly, of this song. It's said to be the most common structure in pop music, all right? Verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus. Theory being that you've heard 2 verses, you don't want 3rd and 4th, you just want to get back to the chorus because you've got them hooked on the chorus by this point, okay? It works because there's enough new material. There's like, 4 different sections there, but there's enough repeated material as well. So give them a balance between variation and repetition, okay? Now, we move on to the chords. As I say, it's in A flat major, but we don't need to worry about that. And this is the verse. And the verse and intro has got the same chords. It's got 6, then it's got 4, sorry, then it's got 2, then back to 6. Okay? Quite dark sounding chords, alright? Let's pick those apart a little bit, okay? It's maybe hard to compute, but I'm just going to run through it. The first chord has got the following notes in. You might want to write these down. The first chord has got F, A flat, and C. Just change that so it makes it obvious. The second chord has got D flat, F, and A flat. Alright? And the third chord that we're looking at has got B flat, D flat, and F. Okay? Can anyone make a point about those chords? Is there anything to link those together?
They're all the same notes, but just different like flats and.
They're not all the same notes, but have a look at them. Have they got? Are there any same notes? Do you guys write them down?
What was the first?
I only got chord 2. I got chord 2. Yeah.
Okay, so F, A flat, and C. Yeah. D flat, F, and A flat. B flat, D flat, and F.
F's in all.
F is in all of them, right? Okay. So if I play F up here, right? Play those chords. It's consistent. There's a thread of consistency around there, okay? And each chord shares 2 notes with the chord it had previously, right? So that first chord has got those 2, and so does the second chord. The second chord has got these 2, and so does the third chord. Okay? So each chord, there's a fairly smooth transition because they share a lot of commonalities, okay? Right. Now, over the top of that, you've got the melody, right? And this is the point where we need to discuss how we use numbers relating to chords, okay? Can you remember what the 3 notes that make up any triad are called? You got the root, the root, 3rd, and 5th, yeah? Root, 3rd, 5th, okay? Right. So they're 1, 3, 5, okay? And if they're 1, 3, 5, that means other numbers exist, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., right? So what we can start doing is going, oh, that note there is number 2, or the second of that chord, if it were to be used, right? So check this out. The first chord is that, and the melody goes, okay? And the first note is what we would call the second of that chord, okay? which is kind of a weird note to use. Because if I put it actually in the chord, you hear it sounds kind of jarring. Those two notes together in particular, they're what we would say that's dissonant. Okay, they sort of disagree. They don't fit in particularly well. So that's kind of unusual to use the second in your melody. Normally you would go for the root, the third, or the fifth. That's really comfortable. Okay, but as you follow it through, she actually goes for the second on every single chord in the verse. So that's the second. That's the second again. That's the second again. She uses the second on every single chord in the verse, which has the result of making it feel very sort of insecure, very transient, okay? Never feels like it properly settles down, okay? Whereas if you were to use the third or the fifth, that feels completely like whole, right? Now that's great, because what actually happens is it gives it a chance to resolve. Remember that word resolve? Like if you did a scale, resolution, resolving, right? It gives it a chance to resolve in the pre-chorus. So we've got these chords. Then it goes to pre-chorus, it goes, and it just opens up that new section. It feels like the harmonies become sort of unshackled and it's gone sort of like widescreen, okay? Now, the chords in the pre-chorus are 1, 5, 6, 4. Who can tell me something about that chord pattern?
And we had to deal with earlier on.
Exactly. Exactly the same chord pattern, you know. Look at your kids with your vintage music. Same chord pattern, and then we were singing You Will Be Loved and all of those songs, right? That chord pattern's cropped up again, and it will crop up regularly. So get to know it, okay? It's a really strong chord pattern, and that's why it's used so much. People wouldn't use it if it was no good, alright? There's a lot of movement, and it supports really fluid, catchy melodies. Now, the interesting thing here is that she's almost exclusively using the root, the third, and the fifth. Those really secure notes, right? So here's my first chord, right? And here's